Number 1.
Destiny Crain wants answers. The 20-year-old who lives in Independence wants to know why her father, William Scott Crain, who was last seen 20 years ago in Bowling Green, disappeared. The last time anyone heard from Scott Crain, 22, was Thanksgiving Day in 1994. "I just want to know what happened," Destiny Crain said. "I didn't really know him because I was only 8 months old when he disappeared. I know we look just alike. We act just alike. That's what everyone has told me, his brothers, my grandma. Everyone says that. We have the same body type, the same face," she said. Scott Crain and Destiny's mother, Melinda Spillman, were separated but planned on resolving their differences and getting back together before he disappeared. Spillman was living in Lexington at the time of Scott's disappearance. "He had called me on Thanksgiving Day, but I was next door getting ice," Spillman said. "Someone at that house answered the phone and talked to him. I didn't hear back from him and thought he changed his mind. I didn't call him. He didn't call me. 2 weeks went by, and I called his cousin's house. His cousin, who lived in Bowling Green at the time, thought Scott was with Spillman. Scott's mother then traveled from South Carolina to Bowling Green to file a missing persons report with police. That's as far as the investigation went. It's still an open missing persons case," said Officer Ronnie Ward, spokesman at the Bowling Green Police Department. Spillman and Scott Crain's family presume he is dead. He has never contacted anyone in his family, and his body has never been found. He was with 2 friends on the night of his disappearance and had been out drinking. Crain's late mother, Linda Whitehead, told the Daily News in 1997 that one of those friends took her to a wooded area off Barren River Road and said that was the last place he saw Scott alive. "We know he's gone," Spillman said. Scott's sister, Kathy Crain, who lives in Detroit, said she knew when her brother didn't return to Spillman and his then infant daughter, Destiny, that he was dead. "All he really cared about was working, being with Melinda and taking care of that baby," Kathy Crain said. "Nobody told me he was dead. I just knew it. He wasn't the type to disappear. He was too happy that he was getting back together with her. That was not him. It was so out of character for him. I guess my mom knew, too. She just didn't want to believe. Nothing will fill the void of Scott's disappearance. He missed out on the births of his nieces and nephews and his daughter's childhood." Kathy Crain hasn't celebrated Thanksgiving in years. "When he died, it just took my laughter away," she said. "I had a dream one night, and he came up to me and said, 'They took my presents away.' When I woke up I thought, they did take his presents away. He was just fun and funny." Kathy believes her brother was killed. Scott, a 1980s hair band aficionado, enjoyed life and making others laugh. He played drums, was a huge fan of musician Axl Rose, and loved it when people told him he bore a resemblance to the Guns N' Roses frontman. Destiny had a stepfather for much of her life, but has never stopped thinking about her father and what could have been. "It's hard not knowing what happened," she said. Anyone with information about Scott Crain's disappearance is urged to call BGPD at 270-393-4000.
Number 2.
Joyce was last seen in Lexington, Kentucky at 7:15 p.m. on October 27, 2002. She was going to visit her estranged husband, Bill Crider Jr., at the Holiday Inn on Athens Boonesboro Road, where he lived. She never returned. Joyce left behind all her belongings, including her knee brace and her dogs. Her car, a dark green 1993 Nissan Infiniti G20 with the Kentucky license plate number 035DKD, disappeared with her. It was found, covered with snow, in a parking lot on Winchester Road in December 2002, 6 weeks after she vanished. There were indications that someone other than Joyce drove the vehicle to that location. Joyce was having personal problems at the time she disappeared. She and her husband were in the process of a divorce, which was finalized in 2003. Joyce's home and all its contents had been destroyed in a gas explosion the year she disappeared. Her husband's truck had caught fire and was ruined. One of her dogs had died suddenly, and the Criders were involved in several lawsuits. Bill said Joyce became depressed after their house was destroyed and threatened to commit suicide. She sought medical assistance and was prescribed medication for her depression. Her attorney and her loved ones stated she was in good spirits at the time of her disappearance and looking forward to getting on with her life. Bill was Joyce's second husband. Her first marriage, in 1998, lasted only 4 months. A photo of him is posted with this case summary. The Criders' divorce was acrimonious, and there was a court order prohibiting them from contacting each other. Joyce disappeared the day before she was scheduled to give a deposition in the divorce case. She was allegedly going to implicate her husband in insurance fraud. Bill admitted he initially lied about when he last saw Joyce. He's considered a person of interest in Joyce's disappearance. Police searched his property several times looking for her remains, but they found nothing. Bill maintained his innocence in her case and stated he had proof that Joyce was still alive. He was killed in a car accident in February 2013, over a decade after her disappearance. Joyce was taking a course in medical transcription at the time of her disappearance. She has previously done clerical work for various retail stores. Her hobbies include watching movies and collecting dolls and clowns. Joyce's bank accounts and cellular phone have been inactive since her disappearance. Her case remains unsolved and foul play is suspected. She was declared legally dead in November 2009.
Number 3.
Laurier was last seen driving home from work in Radcliffe, Kentucky on December 17, 2005. She left work at 8:30 p.m. She was never heard from again. The day after her disappearance, her red Honda Civic was found parked at a strange angle on the side of Highway 313 near South Boundary Road. Her family can't think of no reason why she would be driving on that road. The car doors were unlocked, the hazard lights were turned on, and the gas tank was full. Laurier's purse and makeup bag were inside the vehicle. It is uncharacteristic of her to go anywhere without her makeup. Authorities stated it appeared as if whoever was driving the car had swung around from South Boundary Road and left the vehicle in a hurry. At the time of her disappearance, Laurier had an order of protection pending against her live-in boyfriend. She applied for the order on December 5, after he allegedly threatened to shoot her in the head. She disappeared the day before a scheduled court hearing to discuss the order. Laurier's boyfriend is not considered a suspect in her case, as he has cooperated with the police investigation, passed a polygraph, and has an alibi for the time she disappeared. Her estranged husband was also investigated and ruled out as a suspect. Laurier worked as an office manager at a Save-A-Lot store at the time of her disappearance. She was carrying almost $2,500 in cash and checks from the store, which she was supposed to deposit. The money disappeared with her, along with her 2 cellular phones. All calls made to the phones after her disappearance were transferred immediately to voicemail. Her bank accounts haven't been touched since she went missing. Because of the missing money, there is a warrant out for Laurier's arrest. Laurier has a son who was 17 years old in 2005. He passed a polygraph and is not considered a suspect in her case. Her son stated they had been planning to move to get away from her boyfriend. Her disappearance remains unsolved. Both Radcliffe and Vine Grove, Kentucky police are investigating.
Number 4.
Farthing was last seen at a friend's house in the 100 block of Dillon Court in Berea, Kentucky in the early morning hours of June 22, 2013. She had attended a party the night before with her sister, a cousin and some friends. Eventually, most of the others left, and Farthing stayed behind at the party. She had a friend there who was going to give her a ride home, but the 2 females argued and Farthing's friend left without her. She sent multiple text messages overnight trying to get a ride home, saying she felt scared. She wanted her ex-fiancé to pick her up, but he didn't get off work until later in the morning. The last text from her phone was sent at 5:30 a.m., saying, "Never mind, I'm okay. I'm going to a party in Rockcastle County." Brookelyn's family and friends went to Dillon Court to search and saw the aforementioned items she'd left behind. They noted that only the clothing she'd been wearing and her cell phone were missing. According to police, records show her cell phone received more than 1,000 calls within 24 hours from people trying to reach her. According to firefighters, the couch fire has been deemed suspicious. On the Sunday after Brookelyn's disappearance, Kentucky State Police began conducting interviews. The owner of the house, where Brookelyn was last seen, was amongst those interviewed, but nothing about the meeting has been publicly released. In the early days of the investigation, police requested that property owners in Estill, Rockcastle, Jackson, and Madison counties check their land for any signs of the missing girl. They were told to pay close attention to freshly turned earth and unusual smells, ditch lines and remote areas. Authorities searched more than 16,000 acres in 3 Kentucky counties. Large-scale searches were conducted in the Red Lick area and nearby Owsley Fork Lake by police, cadets, people on horseback, and by search dogs. Cadaver dogs were also brought in, and divers searched nearby bodies of water. 3 weeks after Brookelyn's disappearance, nearly 200 volunteers, including some on horseback, searched an area within 1.5 miles of her last known location. A month into the investigation, a fundraiser was held to help fund a cash reward. As well, businesses began selling diesels for $5, with all proceeds going to the reward fund. In July 2013, all foot searches for Brookelyn were called off. In 2013, a local woman named Amanda Griffey admitted to scamming those wishing to donate money to the search. She said she'd been telling people she was with a local church and was collecting money for the family when she was actually keeping the money for herself. She had scammed a total of $40 and had given out one receipt for a $20 donation, on which she signed a fake name. She was charged with theft of identity of another and theft by deception. In January 2014, another local, Randy Gross, was arrested for soliciting money from co-workers who were led to believe their donations were going to the reward fund. Gross collected a total of $263 and was charged with theft by failure to make required disposition. He maintains he was planning on donating the money. 1 year after Brookelyn's disappearance, her parents hosted a benefit at the Madison County Fairgrounds to help raise money for the reward fund. Their goal was to double the amount available from $5,000 to $10,000. It featured a car show, a silent auction, and live music from the Stillwater Band and Doug Thomas and the Downtown Deuce Band. Kits were also made available for parents wishing to register their kids in case of abduction. The family set up a website with information about the case and links to where tips could be sent in. They also set up the Missing Brookelyn Farthing Facebook page. In April 2015, a man hunting for mushrooms discovered skeletal remains. While at first it was speculated that they belonged to Brookelyn, this was later proven to not be the case. The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office has been seeking information from the case file. They have confirmed their continued interest in the case and are in constant contact with investigators. Officers have followed countless tips and examined the case file for things that might have been missed or overlooked during the initial investigation, and they say all tips continue to be followed up on. The case remains open and active, and it's believed someone in the community has information as to what happened to Brookelyn. There is currently a $14,000 reward being offered for information leading to her return, or the capture and conviction of those responsible for her disappearance.
Number 5.
A man calls his daughter asking her to pick some supplies up for him, to which she promised to do after an appointment, but then is never heard from again. On January 25, 1977, Melanie Flynn got a call from her father, Bobby Flynn, a Kentucky state senator at the time, at 4 p.m. In it, he asked her to bring some materials home from the Kentucky High School Athletic Association, of which she worked as a secretary, in Lexington, Kentucky. Melanie promised to do so once she completed a doctor's appointment she had at 5:30 p.m. that same day. At 5 p.m., Melanie left work in her red 1975 Ford Elite. She turned off Cooper Drive onto South Limestone Street. Following this, Melanie has not been heard from since. After 3 days, Bobby reported his daughter is missing. It's believed that Melanie only had about $12 in cash with her when she vanished. She was supposed to have gotten paid 3 days after her unexplained disappearance, but the check was never picked up. Her clothing and other belongings were left behind in her bedroom. On February 8, Melanie's car was found by a police officer in an apartment building parking lot on Hollow Creek Road in Lexington. The surrounding area was known for being a drug spot. Melanie's red leather coat was found inside the car, as was a suitcase left from a trip to Louisville, Kentucky, that she had taken the week before she went missing. Although her coat and the suitcase were both discovered in the car, neither her purse nor the car keys in the vehicle as well. Initially, Bobby believed that his daughter had developed amnesia and wandered off, recalling an incident from 1972 in which she fell off a running horse and subsequently suffered a severe head injury. The injury resulted in her becoming hospitalized for months and permanently left her without her sense of smell and taste. In the months that followed since she disappeared, police investigated leads that suggested Melanie had gone to Florida. Reportedly, several witnesses at the Texas hotel in Daytona Beach identified her from photographs and said they had seen her between March and June. They added how the woman they spoke to appeared to have the same mannerisms as Melanie's, even mentioning getting medical treatment for an allergy the missing woman had. The woman was also said to have talked about people whom Melanie knew. Unfortunately, the woman was never located, and neither was it ever confirmed whether she was, in fact, Melanie. In August 1977, Melanie's purse was found floating in the Kentucky River near Camp Nelson, located 20 miles south of Lexington. The purse contained lipstick, a perfume atomizer, and 2 bottles of medicine, one of which was Melanie's antihistamines. It's worth noting that, at the time of her disappearance, Melanie was working as an informant with the police. She agreed to introduce a detective, Bill Kanan, to members of the drug culture to avoid getting arrested for possession of marijuana. She had taken Kanan to parties and introduced him as her boyfriend, but denied that they never had a personal relationship. Kanan himself has said he does not believe the undercover work as having anything to do with Melanie's vanishing. However, her family believes Kanan is not truthful about the nature of their relationship. They said Kanan was a friend of the family and that the two were dating. What's more is that Kanan was the police officer to whom Bobby had reported Melanie's disappearance. Both Bobby and Melanie's mother, Ella Ritchie Flynn, believed that Kanan was involved in their daughter's going missing. They theorized that there was a police cover-up after Melanie's vanishing and that evidence had been suppressed. They have also publicly stated their theory that Kanan and possibly additional officers had abducted and murdered Melanie. Kanan himself, though he was never charged in connection with her disappearance, was arrested on federal drug charges in 1993. Born on November 24, 1952, Melanie was 24 years old at the time she vanished, and if still alive today would be 66 years old. She was 5'0" tall and weighed 110 pounds. She had blonde to light brown hair, brown eyes. May go by names such as Melanie D or Melanie O'Hara. Her nickname is DD. When she went missing, Melanie was divorced and had aspirations to be a horse jockey or a singer. She used the stage name Melanie O'Hara. She loved to travel and had previously lived in Cincinnati, Ohio for a brief period. Doug, her brother, had been the utility infielder for the Cincinnati Reds baseball team. As mentioned earlier, Melanie may have developed amnesia as a result of the head injury she sustained years earlier. She was also known to suffer from allergy, for which she took prescription antihistamines to control. Her allergy medication was one of the personal items of hers found to be left behind following her disappearance. She was reportedly under psychiatric care at the time and may have been abusing drugs and alcohol. Her loved ones have described Melanie as high-strung and energetic. They said she would never have left without eventual contact. As of 2019, foul play is suspected, and her case remains unsolved.
Number 6.
Fowler was last seen in Bowling Green, Kentucky on the morning of June 19, 1999. His wife, Deborah Kessinger, said he told her he was going fishing at Barren River Lake along the Allen-Warren County line. He never returned from his fishing trip and has never been heard from again. Deborah searched for her husband herself and contacted family members and friends to ask about him after he didn't return home from his trip. She called the police, but they told her she had to wait 24 hours to file a missing persons report. On June 21, she contacted a state official at Barren River Lake who offered to meet her there and help her search for Fowler. En route to the lake, while driving over the Kentucky 101 bridge, Deborah saw her husband's boat in the Barren River, 2 miles downstream from the lake, and pointed it out to the state worker. On June 21, searchers found his minivan off Osborne Ford Road. Fowler had worked as a lineman at Farmers Rural Electric Cooperative for 20 years prior to his disappearance. On June 18, the day before he was last seen, he called in sick. Authorities stated they didn't find any overnight provisions in Fowler's boat or vehicle, though he was supposed to be on an overnight trip. The boat had no motor or oars when it was found. Fowler also hadn't mentioned any plans to go fishing to his co-workers, and his family and friends said he preferred golfing and turkey hunting to fishing. The Barren River is shallow, and investigators stated they should have found his body if it had been there. In August 1999, 2 months after Fowler's disappearance, police stated they had reclassified it as a possible homicide. Deborah is a suspect in his case, but authorities believe more than one individual was involved in his death. There's a theory that Deborah and her son, Walter's stepson, Mac Kessinger, killed Fowler together and disposed of his body. Deborah described the allegation as crazy and stated Mac had been raised by her parents on their farm and she didn't have a close relationship with him. Deborah and Fowler were $250,000 in debt at the time of his disappearance, and she was the beneficiary of his life insurance policy, but Deborah said she didn't know about the policy until 2008, when Fowler was declared legally dead. Deborah was convicted of arson in 2015 and sentenced to 6 years in prison. She burned down a Dollar General store, causing over $1 million in damage, to cover up thousands of dollars worth of missing money and merchandise. She was the store's manager and committed the arson just before an audit would have exposed the losses. Deborah maintains her innocence in Fowler's case. She stated she'd been working as a police informant when he disappeared, telling police about the activity of drug dealers, and suggested these dealers were involved in Fowler's disappearance. She also suggested he simply walked away, perhaps going to Montana, to escape his debts and the stress of his life. She described their relationship as a usual marriage with no major problems. No charges have been filed in Fowler's case. It remains unsolved.